Tribute bands are easy to find. On any given night in Portland, you can find a Beatles tribute band, or AC/DC, or Led Zeppelin. But this Saturday at the Gold Room in Portland, there'll be a group of local musicians taking on one of the toughest tributes ever, Steely Dan. I talked to Michael Lambert, guitarist for Deely Stan, get it? And he talked about the challenges and the joys. So tell me, what does it take to put together a Steely Dan tribute band? What's the origins of Deely Stan?
Well, the origins are myself and drummer Glenn Philbrick. It was Glenn's original ad. I responded to the ad as well as a group of other people. And as it turns out, the only folks that were really truly interested in it had an idea of the commitment level that it would take to pull this off were Glenn and I. And from that point, I put a few Craigslist ads out and began the audition process. Started to slowly put the band together.
Are you aware of any other Steely Dan tribute bands out there?
Oh yeah, there's many of them worldwide, and there's quite a few in the United States. Not many regionally, but we're kind of in a different area here, where the music is essentially jazz. It's rock with a jazz basic building blocks of jazz there. So the musicianship was a little bit different in this kind of a thing. So we're looking for jazz players, and I think that's what keeps at least the tribute band count down a little bit as far as for Steely Dan.
You don't go for the look of the band. I mean, there's no real look for Steely Dan.
No, and we struggled with this for a while, because we're most tribute bands out there do they either try to emulate the artist's looks, and sometimes that's even more important to them in some ways. But when we came right down to it, Steely Dan has always been kind of a nebulous look. They don't have their pictures on any of their albums. They've changed band members often. In fact, on any one album, especially towards the middle and later part of their career, there may be 20 or 30 different musicians. So I think early in their career, somebody did a review on one of their concerts, said, one of the best concerts I've ever been to, but this is the ugliest band in the world.
Now, if you're in a Beatles tribute band, I mean, you try to play guitar like George Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
As a guitarist, is it difficult to pick up on the styles of all these different guitarists?
Absolutely. It's the hardest challenge of the whole thing. I would say there's about 6 different guitarists that take prominent roles. Mm-hmm. And so I've got all these iconic, classic type guitar solos that are completely different from one another, stylistically and sound-wise too. So it's a challenge, absolutely.
Now, you told me that Longfellow Square, back a few months ago, was your first gig as a band,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much.
That's right.
I'm curious, you had announced that you're going to play something from every album.
That's correct.
But you only played one song from the two 90s albums. Mm-hmm. Is it because you thought maybe the audience wouldn't be familiar with it, or do you think they'd kind of pale in comparison to the older stuff?
Well, they definitely don't pale in comparison. As a matter of fact, I think Donald and Walter's writing style has developed and continues to develop. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with yet another album. But essentially what we did when we wanted to start the band, we needed to have some kind of a foundation to build on. And there was discussion on, well, how do we pick our songs? Well, what we came out with was, you need to think about our audience first and us secondly as musicians. So we essentially took the top 20 downloads and learned those songs. And none of those later songs were in that top 20. So at the same time, we didn't want anybody that bought a Steely Dan album at some point in time came to the show and said, they didn't play anything from the album that I bought, because it might be their favorite album. So we said, we got to pick at least one song from every album. So we grabbed a couple of the later albums and went through and said, well, yeah, Cousin Dupree, off of Two Against Nature, a great tune. They played it when it came out on Letterman. They won a Grammy for the album. That has to be the song. So that's kind of how we went at it. And we do have a couple of obscure songs right now that are in our playlist. Monkey in Your Soul. That was the last cut on the Pretzel Logic album. Not very many people know that song, but boy, everybody loves it.
In the first 5 seconds, it's Steely Dan. I mean,
right, exactly that. Yeah. There's definitely a harmonic trademark on all of their tunes. They don't use common chords in their voicings, and the way that they write and put their chords together. There's certainly some sort of a formula there, but it's very steeped in jazz.
That's guitarist Michael Lambert appearing with Deely Stan this Saturday at the Gold Room.